African entrepreneurs are absolutely changing the game. Through sheer grit, audacity, tenacity, and a whole lot of spirit, they are slowly transforming the way we think, move, communicate, and trade with each other. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Spotlight by Bertha Tobias, where we talk about the raw, honest, and often painful stories of youth entrepreneurship in Namibia, Africa, and beyond. We talk about our blunders and challenges, and we take hopeful stock of the future of Namibian entrepreneurship. Today, I am joined by Sandra Muihangele, who is a cosmetic chemist, manufacturing business consultant, cosmetic manufacturing business owner of Kiyomisandz and Minori Skinfield Co, which we're going to talk about, and very excitingly, Namibia's first Forbes Africa 30 under 30 lister. That's a mouthful. Sandra, thank you so much for joining us in studio today. You're very welcome on set.
Thank you
awesome.
so much.
So we're going to get right into it. So your journey started in early 2000. Talk to us about that. Talk to us about the origins of your entrepreneurial journey and your earliest interactions with the cosmetic industry.
Yes. So, my passion pretty much started at the age of 11, 12. I went to Holy Cross Convent Primary School, so it was compulsory for every learner to partake in the Young Scientist competition. So in grade 6, my best friend and I, we partnered up together to actually develop lipstick. Mm-hmm. And obviously during that time, we didn't study chemistry, so we had no idea how we were going to make lipstick. So we had to use our own creative minds, and we used sand, we used candle wax, we used food coloring, we did all sorts of stuff. We had no idea how it was going to turn out. But then, we won a bronze medal, and then we won the national competition. We won a silver medal, then we won a gold medal, then we were sent to Pretoria in South Africa to partake in the African Young Scientist competition, where we won a bronze medal. So that whole process of actually creating something out of nothing really sparked some sort of inspiration in me to actually pursue a career in future to develop cosmetic products. So I had a fun time going through the whole process, and since then all my friends and my family have known me to be like the future cosmetic formulator. This was like destined to be.
Oh, wow.
So I'm happy that I followed through with my childhood dream.
Yeah, we're also very happy that you followed through with your childhood dream, because you're putting us on the map. Yeah. So did you always know that your sort of science endeavors would take you into entrepreneurship? Because what's very interesting about your story is that in your field, the expectation, or at least from someone looking, from the outside looking in, is that you just, you go into a lab and you'd keep doing the tests. It's very rare that we see sort of quote unquote traditional industries merge with entrepreneurship. So did you always know you were going to go into entrepreneurship? Did you try out a more traditional pathway as a cosmetic scientist in a lab and that didn't work out, or what's the connection there?
Yeah. I've always known that I wanted to build my own cosmetic manufacturing empire. I've always looked up to L'Oreal and Revlon. And entrepreneurship also runs in my family from my father's side. All of my dad's siblings are entrepreneurs. My late grandmother, my father's mom, was also an entrepreneur. So I grew up around entrepreneurs.
Yeah, it comes naturally.
Eventually I knew I wanted to grow an empire here in Namibia and to show the rest of the world what we're also capable of doing, that we can also develop products that can compete with the big guys. So I'm still definitely on that journey to prove to everyone. It's not an easy entrepreneurial path, but I'm getting there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're right. It can't be easy, especially in your industry, because you also sort of export and manufacture. And that is where I want to get into as well is, you're running essentially two different ventures right now.
Yeah.
Talk to us about those two different ventures. What separates them? What are the distinctions? Why isn't it just one? Why is it important for them to be separate?
Yeah. Minori Skinfield was officially established last year, April, and it really came about from the pandemic. As a manufacturer, the whole industry was affected from 2020, and things definitely slowed down. And at the same time, I was receiving a lot of potential clients and companies contacting me for assistance with their manufacturing companies. So I decided to simplify the Kiyomisandz business model to keep up with the after pandemic times. Yeah. So I simplified it by just focusing on contract manufacturing, because prior I was offering consulting services to develop cosmetic products, and I had 3 in-house brands, and we were manufacturing products for clients. So as a contract manufacturer, we actually develop products for potential entrepreneurs. So for example, if a local entrepreneur or Gaza wants his own men's line, we would produce that for him, for example.
Gaza's getting a lot of PR. You're the second person who's mentioning Gaza.
Really? I mean, it's
but
Gaza.
Okay, yeah, if it's Gaza, yeah.
And there's also the hospitality industry that we supply to in Angola, for example. So we do their own custom branded emanated line of products. So it was a bit confusing as a business to have different revenue streams under different business models. It confused the whole financial plan of Kiyomisandz because it became congested. Yeah. So if one business model is not working out well, then you would have to get like the revenue streams from the other model to fund the other business streams. So it just complicated it.
Yeah.
So after the pandemic, I decided to completely simplify Kiyomisandz just to contract manufacturing strictly. Yeah. And then I took the one business model and turned it into Minori Skinfield, which is now the manufacturing business consulting. The focus was mostly to consult to the cosmetics industry, but I've been receiving a lot of contact from different industries, such as the fishing industry, the detergent industry. So we have broadened it out now. Okay. So to service everybody. Yeah. With regards to manufacturing. Yeah, that's my expertise. Yeah.
So, and when you talk about manufacturing, that's a heavily technical industry to be in. And I won't even get into what I presume is a huge gender nightmare in that industry. But I'm very interested in, the importance of technical expertise in the work that you're doing. So you studied analytical chemistry at Cape Peninsula University of Technology. And I'm always interested. And I ask this a lot because some entrepreneurs say, I don't care about school. And some say, no, I absolutely needed school. Which one is it for you? Was it important for you to have studied analytical chemistry? Or do you think you're so passionate you would have learned on the fly if you just gotten into it?
I think it's important to have some sort of educational, theoretical background, especially in the science field. Whether you have gone to university or not, because everything is available online. So there's no excuse not to educate yourself. But for me, the path that I took, it was meant to be because in my 3rd year, you have to complete your in-service training. So I managed to convince my faculty to complete my in-service training at a cosmetic manufacturing company. That's where I gained the skills. So it really depends on the field that you're in. But there's a lot of career fields where it's not compulsory. I'm not against it, but there's just a different path to it, and you should just follow your path. Yeah.
So when you consult, what do you find is the most common challenge with young entrepreneurs in your industry?
I think it is understanding how to possibly grow a business without having the big finances too, because there's different ways to actually start up your company. For example, with me, I saved up, I saved up and I used my savings as startup capital, and I started off small. I
In your mom's garage, right?
In my mom's garage, I ordered like 100 containers. So I started off small. So there is a way to fund your business. And that's how I got noticed. And I applied for grant funds, and they saw how much I was able to do with the little that I have.
Yeah.
And that's also how you attract investors, because investors also invest in people, they invest in your passion. So if people see that you're able to actually push through with the little that you have, it's more motivation for them to give you a loan, to give you an investment. So there's different ways to start a business without having to, I can't start a business because I don't have $1 million loan from the bank.
And I want to talk about that innovation as a key differentiator in your work. So from the moment you entered the cosmetic industry, you were innovative in that this lipstick that you created with your best friend when you were young was high tech.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I don't know what high tech lipstick means.
Yes.
I know I'd like to use one. Yeah. But I'm wondering, so there's also been sort of this exfoliator that you've mentioned that I've read about in your work, where there's in the process of a patent. I don't know how much you want to talk about that, but I want to understand the principal meaning of innovation to you. What an ideal enabling environment for innovation in your industry and for entrepreneurs in your industry looks like.
I think innovation is basically, in simple terms, standing out from your competitor. Nothing is really new under the sun.
Yeah.
I started out with exfoliating scrubs, and I had to stand out. So how am I going to stand out from the Body Shop? How am I going to stand out from all the other skincare, body care products out there? And I just had to be innovative with the packaging. My first line of products, I took a picture of the fruits in my mom's backyard, and those fruits now with the actual photography images on the packaging. So the packaging is what first attracted people. So I invested time into innovating the packaging.
Is this the Summer Rain collection?
Yes, it's the Summer Rain collection. So because I didn't have a big budget to like market and do some sort of crazy 3D animation ad to promote my products, I chose to invest in the labeling of the product to attract potential customers. And that's how my brand grew.
When you really bring your authentic self to the product as well, because I think more than just products, people buy into experiences and sensations. So if we're feeling like this is something that someone put their heart into, people would buy into it. I think you've mentioned, I was watching I've stalked you, but I was watching one of your YouTube videos where you'd said that, the Summer Rain collection, the product specifically, for instance, leave you feeling like you want to eat a fruit at the end.
100%. So everything was strategic. So yes, not just the packaging, but also the scent and also the function of the product. It had to work. So that's what keeps people coming back. So yes, I was able to create a product where people would want to pay for, but I would want the customer to keep coming back. And what keeps them coming back is the fact that the product works.
So something that I'm very interested in as well when we talk about things that worked is, your Forbes 30 under 30 list, Forbes Africa achievement. And that was actually how how you first came into sort of my purview of consciousness, because there's this headline, first Namibian in the Forbes Africa, and I want to know what that has done for you in terms of the opportunities that you've been able to tap into, how that has catapulted your work for investment. Especially because there's a lot of contention around, lists like that. We're like, it doesn't matter. But what has your personal experience been, and what it has done for your entrepreneurial work?
I know this quote is a bit cliche, but really, like, your network is your net worth. I've experienced with investors. I've experienced exporting because of my network. I've received huge opportunities because of my network. So with the whole Forbes Africa 30 under 30 listing, I have a direct connect network internationally. So if I ever decide to do business, example, in in Spain. I have contacts there, and those contacts there know the right people, for example. So, it's all about networking, and also brought a lot of credibility to my company, especially because I want to become an internationally renowned company as well. So it brought a lot of light with regards to that. So it helped to definitely push my company name 10 steps ahead.
Yeah. So, and speaking of those relationships, it also sounds like, your mom has played a huge role in your work and in your accomplishments. And you've mentioned that at some point, you were going to sleep at 1 a.m., waking up at 6, relying on her pocket money until you're 25, and you felt like you just weren't doing what you needed to do. But something very interesting that I've read that you've mentioned or alluded to is that you got through that dark time by focusing on what you love, and that's how the light got in, and that's how things started to work out. What is the light to you? What does that mean to you? What does it mean to be operating in the zone where you are only focusing on what you love?
I think, like, the light to me, in my opinion, is I don't believe in reincarnation, for example. I really do believe that you only live once. So even I understood that this path to entrepreneurship, I was ready to fail. And even if I do fail, I wouldn't regret failing, because people have a fear of failure. I don't. So if you want to jump into entrepreneurship, you can't fear failure. And if you fail, it's a lesson. You try again, or you try something different. But it's an experience for the next couple of years that I know it's worth it, and and I've lived, and and I'm happy to have used this couple of years with my business, whether it fails in the next 2 years, 3 months, 10 years, it's worth it for me. It makes me feel complete. So that's the light for me.
That is the light, okay. And did you regret it when you were 25 and feeling like it's not going anywhere? Was that your same perspective, or did you at some point feel like, you know what, let me just go do lab work?
No, not actually, because I think it's because I know what I want in life. So I know the path that I want to take. So I knew that it wasn't going to be an easy journey. So I knew that there was going to be a lot of roadblocks. I didn't know what kind of roadblocks, because obviously it's unpredictable. So you just have to be ready to fail and embrace it. I have experienced more failures than the successes that people see. The successes are few, but obviously a large scale versus the small
little
failures. And I love actually like the failures, because every failure I've learned something more about myself. So entrepreneurship is a journey, another pathway of you learning more about yourself. So
walk us through some of those failures. Now you can't not tell us. What have been some of the biggest blunders where you've sat back and you've been like, yo, way, like, no?
I think, okay, there have been several. I mean, even just learning about your personality in a business manner, I've definitely learned that sometimes you need to be a little bit like more firm with people, especially as a woman. Like in manufacturing, people tend to just see, a pretty face, but people don't know that actually working in overalls, I get messy behind closed doors in the warehouse. So I think that adjusting and learning to have a business personality versus your own personal personality, there needs to be a difference between the two, unfortunately, what I've learned in the business world. So you definitely need to have a business hat when handling business. I think it's important to have a business personality.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to really explain it without saying too much.
You can't say too much. We promise the people raw stories.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough. People tend to take advantage of you sometimes when you're a young entrepreneur entering and they can see that you don't know much. People do take advantage. So it is important to also protect yourself and also show people that you can't be like pushed around or messed with.
Okay. So as we wrap up, I would just like to understand what you know now that you wish you had known previously. So like you've mentioned, with every failure, you learn something, you develop and grow in a certain way. But what do you know now that you wish someone would have told you when you were just starting out on that very first day, when you threw caution to the wind and you're like, this is what I'm going to do?
I think understanding how to manage money. Yeah, because obviously I didn't study business administration. I actually had no idea how I would turn revenue into more money, just how to manage funds, how to grow your net profit, how to lower expenses, the basic accounting skills. Managing finances determines the failure and success of your business. And separating your personal business account from your business account, being strict about how you manage your funds, that's extremely important.
And I want to understand what you think the country, Namibia, your industry could do better in terms of establishing the mechanisms that you and other entrepreneurs in the cosmetic manufacturing industry need to really, really maximize Namibia's manufacturing potential.
I think just improving the environment for us. For example, it's quite expensive to pay rent at a warehouse. If we could just get some sort of like leeway for startup manufacturers, the utilities, for example, if the municipality and the government could say, okay, if you're a registered manufacturer, you'll only be required to pay 60% of the water and electricity bill. You'll only be required to pay 60% of the rent, and then the rest is covered by the government, for example, because it's extremely expensive to run a product-based business here in the country versus a service-based business. I can't manufacture in my living room, But if you have a service-based business, you can actually run your business from home. You'll just require a computer and internet. But for me, I have like machinery and all of that. And if you're producing like food, or you're producing bricks or whatever, it's quite expensive for us. Just subsidies for utilities, just to be more affordable, at least for like 5 to 10 years, for a business to get onto its feet and start generating profit. And then, so we definitely need help for startup manufacturers in that sense.
All right. Yeah. And one last question that I have to get in before we finally close off is you've spoken about sort of, running the business. You can't run it from your living room. I've seen from your website, your team seems very international. It seems like there's, lots of different people in different places. What's it like running a team with people who are presumably in different parts of the world, especially for a product-based business? Okay. And then that's our last question, and then we close.
So because it's consulting, it's a service-based business. So it's easier to obviously schedule Zoom calls and all of that. But Kiyomisandz, it's run here. So it's heavily expensive to run a manufacturing company in Namibia.
And how big is your team at Kiyomisandz? Just out of curiosity's sake.
So I had to go through retrenchment a year ago. So the business model right now is just to work with part-time workers in production. And then once we have achieved certain goals that we're trying to achieve this year, and then we'd get
that you
back.
probably can't tell us about. Okay.
I'm working on exciting things. I do have a third business, for example. So remember at the beginning of the interview, I mentioned simplifying the business model. So I didn't mention that example, the in-house brands.
Yeah.
So that's now under Sunbury Products.
Okay.
So yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah, there's a lot going on. I have 3 businesses now.
Okay.
So there's exciting things that I've been working on. It's taken months, but I'm excited to launch.
Okay. We are also very excited to watch. And we are always watching.
Yes, thanks.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Sandra Muihangele. Sandra, thank you again so much for joining us in studio. So, once again, Sandra is a I have to read this one. Cosmetic chemist, manufacturing business consultant, cosmetic manufacturing business owner, that is of Kiyomisandz, Skinfield Minori Co, and now Sandbury Products. Yes. And just a general go-getter making her mark in the cosmetic manufacturing industry. Once again, that was Spotlight by Bertha Tobias, where we tell the raw, usually painful and difficult stories of youth entrepreneurship in Namibia, Africa, and beyond. Thank you so much for listening. And Sandra, thank you once again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.